I don't think there's competition in this space. And if there's no competition, usually that means you can attack at a lower price, but that's not the case here because they know the value of their land. It's higher value. They know Austin, Texas exploded, and they know they're 25 minutes from there.
Right. But I want you to still be able to target our acreage range that we typically look for, where you might not be finding 20-acre lots, but 2 to 7-acre lots can be $150,000. As you become more experienced, you have opportunity in these areas and can separate yourself from some competition.
You know what you could also do? Like, get the whole county thing out of your mind on the polygon tool, and you're just going around the city like that instead of actually going from county to county. I think that's a better way to target, because if you're doing targeting Cincinnati, you also have Northern Kentucky right here also. If you're looking at it from a county, you miss all this other land around. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today's topic, we're talking about urban vacant lots and how to target urban, more populated areas, vacant lots, Ron. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined again by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. And this is one where I think most land investors in our space kind of avoid, because everyone's targeting more rural land in our space. And then you have the infill lot wholesalers that are targeting the urban areas. But for us in general, a lot of people are staying clear of more populated urban areas. And I'm not saying it necessarily has to be we're talking about Atlanta, Georgia, but it can be, or it can be right on the outskirts, just more populated areas in general. A lot of people are going 2-3 counties removed, which is fine, and that's what we teach, and you make a lot of money doing that. But let's talk about that today.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we teach. Like you said, it's what we teach, so it's what a lot of people do is 2, 3, 4 counties removed from main areas. But once you become more experienced, once you do some land deals, once you understand the processes, I think there's a ton of value. Like we talk with different niches, there's a ton of value in going outside the box and going into these areas. We talk about population density a lot. And the numbers of that, where we go up to 100 or 200 population density. You go one county removed from main cities, you might have a 400 or 500 person population density per square mile. And there's opportunity in these. There's 5-7 acre properties all in these areas. And I think there's a ton of opportunity for people who are probably a little more experienced to attack these deals.
Yeah, and they can get more specialized if you're in city limits and things, but you're saying one county removed.
I like one county removed, yeah.
What do you think about actual in the city, Hamilton County?
I'm not as favorable with that. I think
it's a whole different business model.
I think so, because everything's city limits. There's very few vacant lots. I'm not even, when we say inside or more populated areas, I'm not even talking about outside of city limits still, and I'm not talking about infill lots necessarily. While you can do 10th acre lots, quarter acre lots, that you go one county removed, you go to Claremont County, Ohio, which is one county removed essentially, you're going to have tons and tons
Butler
of
County as well.
2, 3, 4, 5 acre parcels. And that's where I think there's a ton of opportunity. I'm not talking about those counties in particular, but one county removed from these main areas where you don't have to deal with city limit issues. There's a ton of demand because you have a 3 million person city. There's a ton of demand from these people to buy these 3, 4, 5 acre lots. And if you can do that right, I think the difficult thing is the pricing, because there's such a wide variance of pricing when you get this close to areas. I think that is a huge barrier.
So you're saying blind offers?
Yeah, if you're doing blind offers. What are your thoughts on blind offers with this?
Well, I want to take a step back. So if we're going one county removed from a city, what if we're in the city, what challenges are there? Because obviously a lot of money is to be made. It's a different business model, but a lot of money is to be made in urban areas that are growing if you can somehow get the land and divide them. But that is a whole nother game.
You're talking about like the city, county?
Yes.
Okay.
Like the actual city of, Austin, Texas, that type of stuff. And there's a lot of money there in subdivisions if you can get those, but it is competitive. It is hard. It is specialized. You need, connections within the city and zoning, and you got to rezone. It's a whole nother business model. And that's why we're really not focusing on that for this episode specifically. We're talking about, populated areas, one county removed. Maybe if it's not the biggest city, maybe if it is Chattanooga, you can stay in the county. And what you can do on the land portal, wherever you're pulling your data, is go around the city with your polygon and just go around it and target stuff like that. Because once you enter city limits, it becomes really challenging. There is a lot of money for subdividing in cities that are growing 100%. But for this, we're talking more about one removed or so.
Yeah, I think probably I'm talking about top 30, top 40 cities population-wise, one county removed from there. And like I said before, there's so much demand out there. There's less restrictions. You get so specialized when you're in city limits. It is hard to acquire There's different things you can do with each piece of land. There's less volume too. Like we are a volume type of business. The way we acquire land, there's not much volume of land inside these big city areas unless you're going down to quarter, half acre lots. Right. But I want you to still be able to target our acreage range that we typically look for, where you might not be finding 20-acre lots, but 2 to 7 acre lots. There's tons and tons of these.
Yeah, that makes sense.
One county removed. And I think the thing that drives people away, obviously we teach things differently because this is much more specialized, but also the price of like a 2-acre lot can be $150,000 in these areas. There's a lot of things that the numbers aren't going to line up, but as you become more experienced, like I've said, you have opportunity in these areas and can separate yourself from some competition.
Yeah, so like a major city would be like Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Miami, Florida, New York, obviously. So going one county removed from those. And then you have some smaller ones. And then there's like the mid-major, which is like the Cincinnati, the Detroits, the
still top 40
Cleveland's,
cities.
The where else still top 40 cities.
Nashville, Knoxville, Charlotte,
probably Denver.
Yeah.
So then you can go one outside of those mid-majors. And then you have the smaller like Chattanoogas where you can actually stay within that county, I think.
Yeah, I think when I'm doing it and when I'm kind of choosing if it's like a mid-major city, like I literally will just look at a map and kind of look at the city limits. If the city limits are taking up the entire county, I probably am going to stay away from that.
Well, yeah, you can also hit satellite and look just how much concrete there is.
For sure.
The gray shading.
Yeah, that's what you like. How rural does it? It's not going to be rural because you're in a main or a decent.
But it
city.
can get rural quick.
Yeah, that's why like Knoxville's probably fit in those, and some of it matters how big the county is too. So it's not like a straight blueprint. If it's a tiny county in a mid-major city, it's going to take up the whole county versus I think Austin's county is really big. Austin, Texas's county is really big. And there's half of the county that is a little more rural, not rural, but it is a little more spread out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so sticking to that then, there's not really a strict definition we're using. We're just going to say closer to city limits for this and based on what we just said. Let's talk about targeting them. So the reason... Why do you think people are avoiding these? Not take away that we're not teaching it.
Yeah.
But I do see some people in these, we review some deals outside of DC like in the last couple of weeks and all these other cities really close to it. Yeah. And I was like, that's interesting. They're targeting that. What do you think shies people away from it?
I mean, if you're going away from what we teach, I mean, probably the price points.
I'm not saying what we teach. I'm saying
if we're going away from that, I think probably the price points. I think there is not as much vacant land in those areas. So naturally, if they are going that close, a lot of people are doing infills. I think the gap is people going for 2, 3, 5 acre properties in these areas because there is enough land for people to do deals like that if you're choosing the areas that I'm talking about here. But I think it's like a gap between you have rural vacant land people who are going 3 counties removed, and then you have infill lots who are in those cities doing quarter acres, and they want to be in city limits a lot of times. So I think it's just the gap of the people in between, like the rural land.
And they're also only double closing, so there's a gap there too. Or wholesaling, I should
100%,
say.
yeah.
So, okay, so that makes sense. So price points is a big one. What do we target? So that's actually probably the biggest thing because that's, if 5 acres are going for 500 versus 5 acres going for 25 in some areas, like how do we go about that?
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean? How do you go about it?
Like, are we still going to target those areas where it's more expensive?
Yeah,
or are we doing it because it's more expensive?
I think it gives. So when you're going rural vacant land, like your $100,000 deals are going to be 50-acre properties, whatever it is, 30-acre properties when you're more rural, a few counties removed typically, versus unless you're doing projects or something, versus you go closer and you can make $100,000 on a 5-acre property. Like those are the real numbers. You offer someone $100,000 fast for their 5-acre property, it's worth $200,000. Like those are numbers you can do close to these areas. The deals might be fewer and farther between, but that's the same thing as bigger deals in very rural being fewer and farther between. So I wouldn't shy away, but by the numbers, the price in terms of this, I would just shy away based on if it's too urban, kind of like we talked about, too much concrete, too much build, it's not feeling rural enough.
Got it. Okay. So let's talk about strategies now. So I think we got the definition down on what we're kind of looking for. How are we going to target these? Do you think that blind offers is the way? What would you do?
I like a combination, honestly, and I know we've been talking a lot about kind of a combination. I really, really do like blind offers. The hurdle with blind offers, like I talked about earlier, is pricing them because you might have to split a county up into 5 zones or something like that to accurately price. There might not be enough comps. Pricing can be very difficult with blind offers. I like a combination, and we don't have a ton of data on this stuff. We've done quite a few deals closer like we're talking about here, but they've been fewer and farther between because it hasn't been something we've really focused on, but I know there's opportunity there. But
we see them too.
100%. We get them all the time as far as people asking for deal funding on these 2-acre properties that are $100,000. So, but I like blind offers. I like follow-up texts. I don't think marketing changes that much, Dan. I don't know if you think something differently.
Well, I'm just curious on the offers. Like, I'm just wondering in these actual hot areas, if you're going to send out a 40% offer and get a response
rate.
I
think you need to be more aggressive. And that's the thing. And we talk about that all the time in hotter areas. Even when you're rural, 3 counties removed, you can have areas where land sells within 7 days really, really fast. And you need to be more aggressive on your pricing there. And that's the same thing as you get more urban is pricing more aggressively. I don't know what that number is, if it's 50%, 60%. We've had success at 50% in these areas where we're buying 5-acre properties for $80, $90, $110,000 and getting deals at 50, 60%. So I think it varies, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is, for someone who does this, I think they need a lot of funding connections. I don't necessarily think that, but I think it would benefit someone with good hard money, good leverage in the bank, good capital, capital behind them to do a strategy like this. I'm trying to think for someone, I'm trying to put my shoes in someone just coming in, Ron, and that's going to need deal funding. How can they get money for something? And if they have to offer 65, 70%, whether it's a double close or, which I would suggest, or, trying to take it down themselves, since they're higher margin deals, you have a buy for 300 or higher dollar amount deals, you have a buy for 300, sell for 500. What's that percentage? 3 divided by 5, 66? 60. So you're at 60%, maybe you're 65%. There's a lot of money in the deal there, $200,000 of margin. And tackling that deal with the deal funder is not going to be easy.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't necessarily think this strategy is for someone just getting into this business. I think it can be, there's a lot of hurdles. I think you're going to have some dead periods where you're not getting as many deals. But I think like once you get a couple deals under your belt, once you have some partnerships in terms of funding, money partners, all that stuff, I think that's where something like this could really take off.
It's hard to get in. That's why I like this strategy a ton. It's not going to be easy to take these down.
No, pricing, like every aspect of the business is more difficult other than disposition. You go to sell one of these properties, if you buy the right property and do due diligence correctly, it is going to fly off the market if you're pricing right. And that's honestly why I like this strategy so much, is because right now it's a little tougher to sell rural land than it was 18 months ago, probably.
Yeah.
But you get something this close, like there's so many buyers out there, you can sell them very, very fast.
I'm curious too. I don't think there's competition in this space.
I don't at all.
I don't think there's competition. And if there's no competition, usually that means you can attack at a lower price, but that's not the case here because there's competition in a different way. Because they're urban, they know the value of their land. It's higher value. They know Austin, Texas exploded, and they know they're 25 minutes from there. So I think the perceived values goes a lot higher, which means I think that's kind of a form of competition almost in their head. But I really think an opportunity here is double close.
Absolutely. Like, what do you think about I think one of the, and what we've seen a lot,
I would maybe target a double close.
But what I've seen a lot is like the minor subdivide opportunity, because you are outside of city limits a lot of times, and you get these like where you have 4 acres and you can split it up into 3 1.3 acre lots.
Yeah,
and you can make a ton of money.
I think those will come naturally and just 100%. Be ready for them. I don't know if I target them. Yeah.
No, I don't think targeting them, but if you are offering 60%, 65%, trying to double close something like that, you find some of these minor subdivides, these 1 acre lots are selling for $70,000, where 4 acres is selling for like $110,000, and you can sell that for 3 of those for $210,000, whatever the numbers work out to be.
Yeah, and there's different ways to tackle them, and how you tackle them is going to change based on your strategy. So if you're double closing, which I would personally do a whole campaign of trying to wholesale. Yes, a whole mailer with an offer and a 90-day close or something, just to gauge. There's no competition in the space. If there's no competition, I really think there's something to this.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, test it out a little bit, and then test out offering 50% so you can tackle it with a deal funder. I think there's a ton of different ways you can go, but the cool thing is there's very, very, very little competition here.
Most of the stuff we have a ton of data on, this is not one of the niches, if you want to call it that we have a ton of data on. So I think there's so many.
Where they're high 6 and 7 figure deals. There's just, they're
offering cash to these people who have never got cash offers, who own 4 acres that they inherited. That's $120,000, and you're offering them $120,000. You offer that fast cash.
But one county removed from these cities are going to have offers. Butler County, Claremont County, they're going to have gotten offers
for sure.
You start going to Chattanooga and like Cincinnati, and excluding Cincinnati, maybe trying to attack those, they have not.
You think the pricing is really important? Like if you're trying to offer 60% or 40%, whatever the number is, I think you want to be pretty darn close.
I'll test both.
You remember when we did Asheville, and because we were trying to build in Asheville and find some land. We got a crazy response from there. I don't think it was priced overly. I think I split it up pretty decently.
Oh, we priced market value. I remember those conversations.
Well, we got HOA things, and then the slope in that area.
Slope, it was a tough area, but we got a lot. We could have gotten a deal if we really focused. Yeah, if we really focused on that, we would have, because we were trying to build our own cabins on there.
We had a salesperson taking the calls too, so it wasn't like us. So it was a little more difficult. We probably I did not price those at market value, but I remember you telling me like price 70-80% of market value, because we were trying to actually build on it, which never happened, and we never bought anything. But it was I guess that was one of our experiments with this. That was Asheville, which is kind of like
we've also done deals in Atlanta. We've done deals in Raleigh, North Carolina, very urban. Atlanta, very close to Atlanta, the metro. So we've done a lot of deals here. We're just not they come from us just naturally, putting out our campaigns. We're not targeting this as much. But I know there's something here.
I 100% do. I think testing it out, testing these little things as you guys are becoming more advanced land investors, as you've done a few deals, like there is less competition in these areas, which is crazy to say, but there's competition in rural America, some competition in rural America, 2+ acres, I guess you want to say. And then in these cities, in these more urban areas, less than an acre is what people are targeting. There is a gap from these 2 to 10 acre parcels, and there are thousands and thousands of these parcels in a lot of counties.
I would literally go to counties and cities and mid-major, nothing too crazy, and I'd take the land portal polygon tool and just go around the cities, and I think there's something there.
Yeah, you can just take it out of city limits.
If you do start going one removed outside of Knoxville, Nashville, Cincinnati, you're going to have similar competition, I think.
That's a good idea. So just literally drawing that tool, because we don't have there's no way right now.
Yeah, that's how I demonstrated it in the tutorial when I was doing that polygon search the other day. Mm-hmm. I demonstrated it by going in the city. I'm just like saying you don't want city limits in this county, but you want everything else. And it just drew outside the city limits and then went all the way around it.
You could do that every county you pull, really.
You could, but yes, you definitely could. If it's not desirable, like you don't like city limits. But if you're in a hot city though, like that's actually growing, we've done good city limit deals.
Exactly.
It's the declining, highly restricted, declining cities where no one's building is where it's an issue.
I'm curious how people are going to take that. I feel like the last month or two we've been talking about so many different strategies, and that's the coolest thing about this business model. It sounds like it's just land flipping, it's just this, but there's so many different ways you can take this business model. So I'm excited to see how people take this.
Go into a highly populated county. Ron said 400 to 500. It might be 1,200, and just circle around. You look at it on a map first on satellite. Look at how much of it's concrete and how much of it's green. Right? It's that simple. If over, 50% of the county is, green, and most of the time it's going to be like really like lots of land, green. Mm-hmm. It's not concrete jungle. You'll be able to see it on a map. Use the polygon search tool, select it, put your filters in, see what kind of results you get. You target those outside cities like that, I'm telling you.
Midwest sounds really good for this, I think.
Midwest would be good to start. I don't think I would do it in Cincinnati, knowing the city personally. I think area like Nashville, Knoxville, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Atlanta's in 2 counties. I think the western county is less populated. Go outside of that. Because Atlanta covers 2 counties, I believe.
Yeah.
What else? You can really do this.
Look at the list of top 50 cities in the country. Look at the county. See if it makes sense.
Look where counties get rural fast, or cities that get rural pretty quick.
Yep.
Concrete jungle, and then you got rural America.
Some of them might be suburban. Like we've done, our Atlanta deals were 3 acre lots, like in like a suburb, just in a normal suburb, but all the lots were 3 acres, and we made like $60,000 on both deals.
You know what you could also do?
What?
Is go outside, go outside of a city and not even thinking of a county. Like get the whole county thing out of your mind and just on the polygon tool. It's going to be a little bit. So if you have a county east, you're going to get some of the western part. So maybe you go outside the city limits and you're going, or outside that county that the actual city is, and you overlap it a little bit and you get the east part of the next county that's to the right of it, right? And you're just going around the city like that instead of actually going from county to county. I think that's a better way to target the outskirts of a city than looking at the county.
I agree.
Because if you're doing targeting Cincinnati, you also have Northern Kentucky right here also. And if you're not going outside, if you're looking at it from a county, you miss all this other land around.
Yeah.
You know, you can go to Claremont and go to Southwest Claremont County, and you can just draw a circle outside the city limits.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah. I feel like we're missing too much from thinking of it like county in this conversation.
I agree. Yeah. I'd go outside of cities, get a little closer, push your population density a little bit. I think that's it. You got anything else to add?
No, I think you guys can hear we're brainstorming on this because it's nothing we've targeted. But guys, these are 6-7 figure deals here with very little competition. We've done a lot of them, just not intentionally targeting them. And there is no competition. And if you guys can figure out a way to do this, blind offers, try some neutral letters, try some ranged offers, text, all the combination, and, you know, try some double closing targetings along with priced offers, I think, Ron. But I don't have too much to add. If you guys haven't looked into this, I think there's a ton of room, and I'm telling you, someone's going to make a lot of money doing this.
Awesome, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below, like this video, leave us a comment. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, share this with a friend, leave us a review on there. Other than that, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining, guys. As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.